Hello, loves. Welcome to another episode of the Body Love Binge. How are you all doing? And I do want to share, because I don't share this enough, this is completely free and there's so much value here for you. I need to be better at sharing and inviting you to my free support group, which is, well, what it says on the tin, a free support group for anyone struggling with any kind of eating disorder, lack of self-love, body image issues. We do a ton of free resources in there. There's people posting and helping each other. I'm in there coaching every week to directly coach you through any of your blocks and your struggles. You just need to tag me and I can answer them directly. We also do monthly hot seat coaching. So there's an opportunity to be coached directly by me every month. And there's also loads of previously recorded coaching sessions that you can view, watch back anytime. And it's just a really beautiful space to be. There's so many beautiful souls in there that are truly dedicated to recovery and lifting up and inspiring others. So if you haven't joined already, do join below. There'll be a link wherever you're listening to this or watching this, there'll be a link somewhere to join. And like I say, we go live for coaching calls every month. So don't miss out. That's available to you if you want to join us. So let's dive into the episode then. So this is a bit of a ballsy title: why recovery from anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating is the same process. It is the same process, and there's more I have to say about it, which is why I've created an episode out of it. So I could, if I was having to do an episode in like one sentence, it would be: recovering from any eating disorder involves unrestricted eating, tuning into your body, emotionally regulating, and coming back home to self-love. That would be it in a sentence. But good job, I don't have to combine everything into one sentence and edit myself, because we're going to dive in today as to why that is the same, whether you have anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating. I'm going to be looking to my notes. I wrote this quite a while ago, but I've only just got around to recording it, so bear with me. Each eating disorder does have its own criteria, but as I was saying, the behaviors can be different, but the process to truly recover, to truly live in food freedom, liberation, and self-acceptance, it's remarkably similar for all. Recovery's core is, I'm sure you would know this if you've been following me for a while, is unrestricted eating. Regardless of what diagnosis you've been given, recovery requires learning to eat without restriction, reconnecting with your body's needs, and understanding the purpose that the eating disorder has served. That is a big one. Why was the eating disorder created in the first place? How is the eating disorder still serving you right now, and how has it been serving you? Restriction is the core issue across these diagnoses. Anorexia, which of course involves intense restriction to maintain control, disconnecting you from hunger cues. Bulimia follows cycles of restriction and then binging, where restriction triggers binge behavior leading to purging. And binge eating disorder often hides a background of restriction. Even if it's not obvious, mental food rules create a cycle of scarcity that primes the body to binge as a survival response. Unrestricted eating, free from food rules, is universal in recovery if you're doing it right. It isn't just about ending restriction, it's about breaking free from the diet mindset that keeps you enslaved to fear and control around food. Now, let me talk about the migration theory of anorexia. Those of you may or may not have heard of this before, but if you haven't, listen up, because if you are experiencing anorexia, or you have in the past, or you know someone that is, this is going to blow your mind and make a lot of sense. The migration theory, it's not really a theory. Well, it is a theory, but it's not a theory, because in order for it not to be called a theory, it has to have like so many scientific thingies. Such scientific words there, Victoria. But this is a thing, okay? Just trust me on this. And if you want to dive deeper into this, Tabitha Farrar talks about this. And also, there's a lady before Tabitha Farrar, a German lady, if I believe, that I can't think of her name, but Tabitha's got a great podcast interview that she had with this lady, which I will link below actually, so you can learn more about the science behind this. So, the migration theory of anorexia nervosa is an evolutionary that explains why starvation and hyperactivity often coexist in people with anorexia. It suggests that the behaviors associated with the disorder, such as extreme food restriction, relentless movement, and a diminished sense of hunger, are adaptive responses rooted in our evolutionary past. The core idea is starvation as a trigger for migration. In ancient times, when food was scarce, humans needed to migrate to find new resources. Those who could suppress their hunger and remain physically active despite starvation were more likely to survive and relocate to areas with better food and availability. Loss of hunger cues in times of famine, those were able to suppress their appetite would have been less burdened by food-seeking behaviors and could continue traveling. Increased energy and movement. Instead of conserving energy, the brain might push the body into a hyperactive state, mimicking the drive to migrate. This aligns with why people with anorexia often experience relentlessness, an urge to exercise, and an inability to sit still. Cognitive focus and detachment. Many with anorexia describe an almost oh my God, seriously, I can't say different words on a good day, but today my immune system is upgrading from a cold. I'm tired, and clearly I can speak even less than how I usually speak. So that didn't make sense anyway. Almost feel like I want to just start this whole podcast all over again, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep going. Euphoric, that's it. Many with anorexia describe an almost euphoric state or tunnel vision when restricting food. I know I did, which could have historically helped them to stay motivated to travel without being overwhelmed by the distress of hunger. Why does this matter today? Because, of course, we're not migrating anymore. In modern society, we no longer need to migrate to find food, but the genetic and biological mechanisms from our ancestors may still be present. For some individuals, starvation may activate those ancient pathways, leading to the paradoxical increase in energy and drive seen in anorexia. This could explain why eating disorders often take hold after a period of dieting or unintentional weight loss. The brain interprets the energy deficit as a survival situation and responds with behaviors that historically helped humans escape famine. Recognizing that the drive for movement is not about willpower, but a biological survival response. This can help individuals practice self-compassion. And also it can help individuals stop comparing themselves to other people who are diagnosed with anorexia as them having more willpower. That's not the case. It's not about willpower. I remember when I was in anorexia, it was so easy to just not eat and move more. It wasn't really anything to do with willpower. It was just easy to not eat and move more when that migration response switched on. So I wanted to share that's a very important fact. It's not about willpower. Number 2, restoring adequate nutrition is, of course, crucial because only when the body no longer perceives a famine will those starvation-driven behaviors subside. Challenging the belief that less food equals more control. In reality, restriction hijacks the brain, triggering behaviors that are maladaptive in today's world. Essentially, anorexia is not a choice, but a deeply ingrained survival mechanism gone to shit, basically. The good news is, though, once the body is consistently nourished and no longer perceives starvation, those migration-driven behaviors can gradually decrease. And they do. However, because the brain has been wired for so long with neural pathways in today's modern world where you don't need to migrate to a different place for more food, the migration response will be switched on for as long as a person is underweight for them, which is what happened to me. And not only do you have a biological thing going on, move more, eat less, no willpower, your brain is wired with the behaviors and the thought patterns of someone with anorexia. So the way you currently fear food and want to move more and can't sit still and don't deserve to rest, it's biological, but you also create these really strong neural pathways as well as something biological. So recovery is first and foremost eating more food, which honestly was the hardest thing I've ever done in anorexia recovery, when your whole body is screaming at you not to. But there is a part of you biologically that does want to eat a lot of food, because if back in the day, you would have migrated, you would have reached a place with an abundant amount of food, you wouldn't have solidified the neural pathways yet, because it would have been weeks, if at the very most a month, till you found somewhere different with more food. Whereas this could be years in today's modern world. So when you do eat more and you just have to force yourself to do it, there's no way around it, with support, there's a part of you that wants to eat. And then when you start eating and then show your body that we're no longer starving, it becomes so much easier to recover. The initial hardest part is eating anyway when your body doesn't want you to. That's the hardest thing biologically with anorexia recovery. And then we can address the neural pathways and start to rewire the brain. And so you can heal on a biological level, a mental level, and then, of course, an emotional level. Because, yes, anorexia is from a migration response, but most people, including my past self, started restricting due to other stuff, like deeper stuff, emotional wounding, not feeling good enough, like having to be obsessed with appearance in order to feel powerful and loved, and all of that stuff. So yes, the migration response can be switched off simply. It's not easy, but it can be switched off simply. But then you've got the deeper work to do, which is what I'm all about as well. So I wanted to point that out in terms of the migration response. That's how anorexia, in my opinion, and also in Tabitha Farrar's opinion, and many other professionals' opinion, that's how that all pans out differently to restriction or severe dieting. It's simply genetic. So let's move on to addressing the fear of becoming obese or very overweight and then set point in recovery. A common fear in recovery is that unrestricted eating, because remember we said the key to healing from any eating disorder is unrestricted eating. Well, what about health? What about becoming obese? What about just putting weight on for the rest of my life? That is such the biggest fear, honestly. And if someone doesn't have that fear when they come to me, I'm shocked, which 99.9% of people have had that fear. And of course, we work through it. Unrestricted eating leading to obesity is people's biggest fear. But here's the reality. Your body does have a set point weight where it naturally balances when allowed to eat freely. This set point weight, while it may not align with societal ideals, your set point weight is most likely not going to be what you want your body to look like, said in a different way. It's healthy and sustainable for you. After prolonged restriction, initial weight fluctuations are natural. Over time, the body stabilizes as it learns food is no longer scarce. Your body does not need constant control to regulate itself. It was doing completely fine until you interfered with it. And I'm not saying it's your fault. It is what it is. You were doing everything that you could in order to cope in this world, in order to feel good enough, in order to feel like you were in control of something. But the body can regulate itself by itself. I look at my baby girl who is drinking milk. She tells me when she's hungry and she stops when she's had enough. It's as simple as that. We get in our own way due to all this conditioning and coping with life, quite honestly. It's also essential to notice, to recognize that health exists at every size. Recovery invites you to live in and love your body as it naturally is, whether that's slim, average, or fat. You deserve a body that is nourished, energized, and free from restrictive cycles. Now, let me briefly touch on true binge eating disorder versus reactive binging, because I'm sure a few people, if they've continued listening up to this point, would be arguing with the fact that, okay, Victoria, I've been diagnosed with binge eating disorder. You cannot just eat unrestrictedly with binge eating disorder. Now, I want to point out that any binge eating disorder, diagnosed or not diagnosed, that has a history of past restriction is due to the past restriction, and the mental restriction and the past physical restriction and the feeling like you shouldn't be eating this and judging yourself and trying to lose weight. This is all linked, and it's the same thing. It's the same process. But I do want to touch on true binge eating disorder, which is very rare, just briefly. This isn't my area of expertise, but I do want to touch on it briefly because it will be helpful for those that are questioning this. True binge eating disorder, which is extremely rare, is often driven by a genetic or neurobiological predisposition affecting appetite regulation. Those with true binge eating disorder may lack natural satiety signals, leading to involuntary binge episodes. This differs from reactive binging, where restriction causes binge episodes in response to perceived deprivation. So, for true binge eating disorder, recovery still involves unrestricted eating, but with tailored support to manage the unique challenge of never feeling fully satisfied. Therapy, nutritional guidance. So, of course, ensuring that you're eating well. And when I say eating well, I mean getting enough protein, fats, carbohydrates, vegetables, balancing your blood sugar to help your body with the regulation aspect of it. Some medication can help to regulate satiety. I'm not going to go into that. As I said, not my area of expertise. I don't actually endorse medications at all, but some medications can help for this what word am I looking for? Genetic predisposition. So true binge eating disorder is a neurobiological condition where, I'm repeating myself here, but who cares, where individuals experience involuntary binge episodes due to a genetic or neurobiological predisposition affecting appetite regulation. It's not necessarily triggered by past restriction, dieting, or food rules. The key issue is a dysregulation in hunger and satiety cues, meaning some people with binge eating disorder do not experience normal fullness or satisfaction after eating. Now, I've created a chart here that I'm looking at, which you can find on my website under this podcast episode. The difference between true binge eating disorder and reactive binging. So, true binge eating disorder is rooted in genetic, neurological, or hormonal factors that dysregulate appetite. Reactive binging is rooted in restriction, food rules, and deprivation. True BED, binging feels compulsive and involuntary, like a true loss of control. Reactive binging is reacting to not eating enough, often after restricting or avoiding certain foods, or at least thinking that you should be avoiding certain foods. True BED, lack of normal satiety signals, leading to persistent feelings of hunger or never feeling fully satisfied. Reactive binging, once restriction ends and the body trusts food is available, binging naturally does reduce. Now, any of those of you thinking, oh my God, my extreme hunger is true binge eating disorder. No, it's not. Ask me any questions that you have around this. Trust the process. If you've restricted before, it's reactive binging, okay? So true binge eating disorder more commonly occurs with dopamine-related conditions like ADHD. Reactive binging more commonly occurs in people recovering from dieting, orthorexia or anorexia, bulimia, diet binge cycle, those things, which also is common for people with ADHD to have as well. True BED, recovery may include nutritional support, therapy, and sometimes medication to regulate satiety and impulse control. Reactive binging, recovery is about allowing full permission to eat and healing the fear of food. So any questions you have around that, ask me. I'm happy to dive in and to a different episode even to talk about this in depth. But I did want to bring that in briefly. But most of you listening to this will be in the reactive binging category, even if you do have ADHD, even if you do get a lot of pleasure from food. Don't worry, ask me questions. I'm here to support you, okay? So moving on to recovery beyond food. Self-love and emotional regulation. That is a huge key aspect of recovering from any eating disorder. Recovery isn't just about food. It's about addressing emotions and understanding how your eating disorder has served you. So you can ask yourself, how does my eating disorder help me to avoid certain feelings? What fears do I need to face as I release this behavior? Can I show myself patience and compassion along this path? Finding freedom, self-acceptance, and letting go of control. True recovery shifts from external focus, weight, food rules, body, etc., to an internal one. It's about learning to fully accept yourself, imperfections included, to find freedom. Trust your body, knowing it will find its balance. Welcome all foods without judgment, enjoying nourishment and pleasure. Practice self-acceptance, not as a reward, but as a daily commitment. Also, talking about pleasure. Those of us who have had a fucked up relationship with food have a fucked up relationship with pleasure. We feel like we have to earn pleasure, that we can't just have pleasure just for the sake of having pleasure. We have to earn it first. Or if we have it, we feel guilty for having it. That's all rooted in eating disorder bullshit. And that is a big part of my work with clients, is understanding that you can receive pleasure, you can receive rest, and it's okay. And it's a lot of nervous system regulation work and understanding how your relationship with pleasure has been distorted, and your relationship with rest. And yes, that is linked to the migration response, but it's also linked to conditioning and how your parents were, and fear of being lazy and having to do instead of just being, and all the things. It's such a holistic approach we need to take for true recovery from any eating disorder. And I want to say, embrace the messiness of healing. So recovery is not linear. There will be setbacks, and that's part of the journey. Healing is about showing up for yourself even when it's uncomfortable. Whether you're recovering from anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating, the journey is the same. Unrestricted eating, self-love, and surrendering control. Trust your body, recognize the purpose your eating disorder has served, and learn healthier ways to cope with life's challenges than restriction. Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to true food freedom and freedom in all aspects of your life, peace and self-acceptance. Keep going, because you deserve a life of love instead of a life of fear. So I've done reading my blog now. I just feel like I just want to just chat to you a little bit without reading something. So all in all, recovery from an eating disorder is, of course, unrestricted eating. It involves tuning into your body and listening to what your body is telling you it wants. When you start recovering from anorexia, it will look like forcing yourself to eat when you don't want to, literally forcing yourself. And that sucks. But you can do it. And when you've nourished yourself more and your brain's back on board and the migration response is switched off, it's so much easier to continue recovery, because at least your biology is driving you to eat. And then you can just follow your mental hunger, your emotional hunger, and your physical hunger. And the same with binge eating and bulimia, is allowing all foods, which sounds so irresponsible. I know, trust me, I know. I've been there though. I've tried everything to stop binge eating, and absolutely nothing worked apart from this process, to allow and give yourself full permission to eat all the food, and at the same time connect with your body without judging. And this is a process. Be curious instead of judging. Just tune into your body, like, hey, what do you need? It's okay to eat a brownie for the sake of just eating a brownie because you want to taste a brownie. That is okay. Because here's the thing, when we make it not okay, we end up binging on brownies later. This is the thing also. People that eat emotionally, which is what I did too. So let's say we're eating emotionally and we're not physically hungry or mentally hungry, but we're eating emotionally because it soothes us, or we're bored, or we want to be happier, so we bring food into the mix. That's okay too, because the moment we make it not okay, it turns into reactionary eating, which is a binge, and then you're in that cycle again. So true recovery, I keep repeating myself, but it's worth repeating, is unrestricted eating always, full permission to eat whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, connecting to your body, emotionally regulating yourself with food and with other things. Don't take away the food because that doesn't work. Add in things as well as the food to support you with your emotions. And then also full permission over time, when your body trusts that there really is not going to be any more restriction, and you trust that your mind is not going to restrict either by saying things like, oh, I shouldn't be having that. Oh, I'm afraid of weight gain, which of course weight gain is a massive thing. Getting over the fear of weight gain is a huge aspect of healing from an eating disorder. over time, you naturally just eat easily, you eat effortlessly, you eat free with pleasure. I care about my health, so I'm able to choose nourishing, healthy options without it being from a place of restriction at all. And you cannot skip and jump to that position. You cannot start to think of health when you're at early stages of recovery, even if you're eating like a shit ton of sugar all day. It's okay. And I know that sounds irresponsible. Again, I get it. It's the only way. Full allowance, leaning into your mental and emotional and physical hunger, tuning into your body, working on your self-love, working on your body image, getting support through your fear of weight gain and what that means to you, because that's a big one, of course. That's when you reach true freedom. And there's so many aspects for true recovery, and everyone is so different, but it's generally the same. Inner child work, that's why I have my real recovery roadmap. It's got 5 pillars. It's inner child work, it's trauma healing, it's intuitive eating and healing your relationship with food, it's body image work, and it's self-love. Those aspects all combined create true freedom, self-acceptance and self-love. But like I said, I'll kind of end this episode as how I began it. Any eating disorder recovery, binge eating, bulimia, orthorexia, anorexia, is including and not limited to, but including and always unrestricted eating, following your mental and emotional hunger. The end. And everything else in between. So let me know if you have any questions off the back of this. I feel like I've been a bit all over the place. This is my first recorded episode in, I don't know how long, because I've had so many recorded in the past that I've just been reusing. I kind of actually don't like the way I read off the blog that I've written. In the future, I'm just going to just speak. I think it comes more natural to me that way. What do you think? Because you can tell in my voice when I'm reading something and when I'm just chatting and speaking from the heart. And what I've written is, of course, from the heart because I've written it, but it takes away me looking and reading, and it just allows me to just, I guess, free roll a bit more. So let me know what you prefer. Let me know if you have any questions off the back of this for another episode. And sending you all so much love. Don't forget to join my free support group. And if you did want more support than the free support group, the next step would be my group coaching, the Body Love Binge. And that includes a whole program called the Body Love Binge, which takes 16 weeks to go through. That's full of audios, videos, workbooks, journaling, all the modules that you like complete and tick off as you go. Like I say, it takes about 16 weeks, 4 months to go through. It includes group coaching calls that we have monthly, but soon we'll be having 2 every month, not just 1. So that will be increasing the value as well. So we have monthly group coaching calls. There's hundreds and hundreds of hours of past group coaching call recordings that you can watch at any time. There's loads of extra resources. There's a whole other program with modules in with extra resources in there to support you. There's the Body Love Bite program as well, which takes about 4 to 5 weeks to go through, which is the foundation for food freedom and self-love. I'm in there weekly coaching you through any blocks directly. Oh my God, there's a ton of value. And it's a very intimate, closed group, actually, a very private, intimate, closed group. And the investment for that is $997 for an entire year. So a whole year of being in that group of weekly message support from me directly to you, group coaching calls, hundreds of hours of past coaching calls, all my programs, a daily supportive community. It's a beautiful space to be. So, okay, I will see you next week. Much love to you and thank you for being here.